I never thought a tiny piece of plastic could blow up my entire world. But that Tuesday morning when I found that USB stick in my mailbox, wrapped up in a plain brown envelope with nothing written on it, that is exactly what happened. My name is Jake Morrison, and I am 39 years old. I work as an insurance investigator here in Richmond, Virginia. Nothing fancy, just a regular guy with a regular job. Or at least that is what I thought my life was. Regular, safe, predictable. I took that USB drive inside and plugged it into my computer. I did not hesitate. Maybe I should have, but something in my gut told me I needed to see whatever was on there. The video started playing and my stomach dropped. There was my wife, Lisa. She was in some hotel room that looked expensive, real expensive. Champagne bottles everywhere, fancy sheets, and she was kissing some guy. Not just kissing, she was all over him. The timestamp said it was from 3 days ago, Saturday night. That was the night she told me she was going to her friend Jennifer's bachelorette party. I sat there watching my coffee get cold while I watched my wife laugh and kiss this guy's neck. Then they stumbled toward the bed. The camera kept rolling, showing me everything I never wanted to see. At the bottom of the screen, there were words that said, "Thought you should know, Tyler." My phone rang right then. Unknown number. I picked up anyway. "Jake, it is Tyler Brennan from Jefferson High," the voice said. "I was working security at that party Saturday night." I remembered Tyler. Quiet kid, got bullied pretty bad back in high school until I stepped in and shut it down. Saved him from a beating, I guess. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked. My voice came out steady even though I felt like I was having a heart attack. "Because you saved me once," Tyler said. "Now I am returning the favor." He hung up, just like that. I closed my laptop and sat there in my cramped little office with all my insurance claim files piled around me. The fluorescent lights were buzzing overhead. My marriage just died in high definition, and I did not feel angry. I felt cold, real cold, like ice was spreading through my chest. I opened the video again and looked closer at the guy. His face came into focus. Brandon Cole. I knew him. He worked at the same logistics company as Lisa. She mentioned him sometimes when she talked about work. Right then, sitting in that office, I made a decision. I was not going to cry or yell or break things. I was going to be smart about this. I work in insurance fraud. I know how to investigate. I know how to build a case. I know how to find evidence. So that is exactly what I was going to do. First thing I did was call my doctor. I needed to schedule testing for sexually transmitted diseases for both me and Lisa. The receptionist sounded surprised when I said I needed it today, but she squeezed me in. Dr. Patricia Chen delivered the news to us 3 days later. We were both sitting in her office. Lisa was in the chair next to me, looking uncomfortable but trying to act normal. "The good news is everything is treatable," Dr. Chen said. She had that sympathetic look on her face that doctors get when they have to tell you bad news. "But both of you tested positive for chlamydia. It's common, and with antibiotics, you'll both be fine." "How?" Lisa interrupted, her voice going all high-pitched. "We've been together for 8 years, just the two of us." I watched my wife put on a performance. Her hands were shaking a little bit. She wouldn't look at me. She was good at lying, I'll give her that, but not good enough. Not anymore. "Sometimes these infections can lay dormant for a while," Dr. Chen said. She was being diplomatic about it. "The important thing is treatment." "Of course," Lisa said, nodding her head fast. "We'll take care of it right away." We drove home without talking. Lisa stared out the window while I drove through evening traffic. Our house is in Windsor Farms, one of those nice neighborhoods where all the houses look expensive. Lisa had insisted on buying there when she got promoted to Human Resources Director and started making good money. The mortgage was a stretch, but she said we needed to live in the right neighborhood. "Jake," as I pulled into our driveway, "about those test results." "These things happen," I said, turning off the engine. I could see the relief flood over her face. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it. "I love you," she said. "I know," I said back. That night, after Lisa fell asleep, I went to my home office and started digging. I pulled up our joint bank account, all our credit card statements, our phone records. Everything I'd been ignoring for months suddenly made perfect sense. The late nights at work, the new clothes, the gym membership she suddenly got. the expensive underwear I never saw her wear around me. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Check her work tablet. She left it charging in the kitchen. I crept downstairs real quiet. Sure enough, Lisa's tablet was sitting there plugged in next to the coffee maker. It had a password on it. I tried our anniversary, nothing. I tried her birthday, nothing. Then I just typed in Brandon's name. The screen unlocked. The tablet opened right up to WhatsApp. There was a group chat sitting there called Bad Girls Club. 4 members, Lisa, Jennifer Martinez, and 2 other women I'd recognized from our social circle. I started scrolling through the messages and my whole world got turned upside down again. Brandon is coming over tonight, Lisa had written. Jake is working late again. Perfect timing. There was a little devil emoji after it. Jennifer wrote back, "Girl, you are playing with fire. What if Jake finds out?" "Please," Lisa had responded. "Jake is too boring to suspect anything. He thinks I'm some saint who goes to book club twice a week." I kept scrolling. My thumb was so tense against the screen I thought I might crack it. A few messages down, Jennifer made her own confession. "Speaking of playing with fire, Marcus and I hooked up again, 3 weeks before my wedding, y'all." "You are terrible," Lisa responded. "Poor Daniel has no idea what he is marrying." "What he does not know will not hurt him," Jennifer said. "Besides, once I marry Daniel with his trust fund access, I can do whatever I want." I kept reading. The messages got worse and worse. For months, these women had been swapping stories about their affairs, laughing at their partners, sharing details about sneaking around. Lisa's messages stood out because they were so detailed. "Told Jake I'm staying late for a client dinner," she had written. "Meanwhile, Brandon and I are booked at the Jefferson Hotel until midnight." Jennifer replied, "Girl, I swear you were going to end up on one of those true crime podcasts." "Only if Jake ever grows a spine," Lisa shot back, "which, not likely." My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth might crack, but my hands kept moving. I took screenshots of every single message. Then I found the most recent thread from 3 days ago, right before the bachelorette party. "One last wild night before Jennifer becomes a boring housewife," Lisa had said. "I'm bringing my friend Brandon." "This party is going to be epic," Jennifer had replied. "What happens in Richmond stays in Richmond." I read those words 3 times. Then I slowly set the tablet back exactly where I had found it. Upstairs, Lisa was fast asleep with one arm stretched across my side of the bed. In the dim light coming through the curtains, she looked peaceful and beautiful, like she did not deserve what was coming. I turned around and went back to my office. I opened my laptop and started researching everything I could find about Brandon Cole. Brandon Cole was easy to research. I found his LinkedIn profile first. Successful career in logistics, rising through the ranks at Cornerstone Transport Solutions. Married to Ashley Cole, a pediatric nurse. 2 kids, ages 8 and 10. The family lived in a regular suburban house in Mechanicsville, about 20 minutes from Richmond. I started cross-referencing Brandon's social media with Lisa's. They had been careful. No public interactions, no tagged photos together. But location data told a different story. My investigation training kicked in. I pulled metadata from their posts. Same restaurants, same hotels, same coffee shops, same days and times for the past 6 months. My phone rang. Tyler again. "Did you look at the video?" Tyler asked. "I did," I said. "There's more. I recorded audio from the hallway. Your wife and that bride, Jennifer, they were talking about their men, saying some pretty nasty things." "Send it to me," I said. The audio file showed up on my phone a few minutes later. I plugged in my headphones and listened to my wife's voice drifting through a hotel room wall. "God, Jake is so predictable," Lisa was saying. "Same boring routine every night, same boring job, same boring everything. Brandon makes me feel alive again." "At least you know what you're getting," Jennifer replied. "Daniel is sweet, but he's basically a golden retriever with a trust fund. 0 backbone. I need a man who can actually take charge, you know?"
That's why we have our side pieces, Lisa laughed. Best of both worlds. Boring stability at home, excitement when we want it. Exactly, Jennifer said. And after I marry Daniel, I'll have enough money to really do whatever I want. Maybe even leave Richmond entirely. Start fresh somewhere more exciting. What about Daniel? Lisa asked. What about him? He'll be heartbroken for like 6 months, then find some other woman to worship. Men like him always do. I saved the audio file and leaned back in my desk chair. The house was totally quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning. Outside, Richmond was sleeping, not knowing that several lives were about to change forever. I opened a new document and started typing. I needed to make plans, establish timelines, allocate resources. I approached revenge the same way I approached insurance claims, methodical, thorough, and with an eye toward maximum payout. By the time the sun came up, I had a complete strategy laid out.
The next morning, Lisa bounced into the kitchen, wearing yoga pants and a sports bra. She kissed my cheek while I ate breakfast and read the Richmond Times-Dispatch. "Good morning, handsome," she said, all bright and cheerful. "I was thinking we should plan a weekend getaway soon. Maybe Virginia Beach. We have not had couple time in forever." "That sounds nice," I replied, without looking up from my newspaper. "When were you thinking?" "After Jennifer's wedding. I will be so exhausted from all the maid of honor duties." She poured coffee into a travel mug. "Speaking of which, I need to run errands for the bachelorette party today. Final details, you know?" I nodded. "What time will you be home?" "Probably late. You know how it is with wedding planning." She grabbed her purse and keys. "Do not wait up." "Drive safe," I said. After she left, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to Carlos Martinez, a private investigator I had worked with on insurance fraud cases. Good guy, discreet, thorough. The second was to Michelle Thompson, a divorce attorney whose reputation for aggressive tactics was legendary in Richmond legal circles. The third was to my bank. "I need to transfer some funds into a separate account," I told my personal banker, Greg. "Something my wife cannot access." "Of course, Mr. Morrison," Greg said. "How much are we talking about?" "Everything," I said. By noon, I had secured a private investigator, retained legal counsel, and moved 90% of our liquid assets into an account Lisa did not know existed. I removed my name from our joint credit cards. I began documenting every shared asset for potential division in divorce proceedings. Carlos called me at 2 in the afternoon. "I've got eyes on your wife," the private investigator reported. "She's at Brandon Cole's apartment complex. Been there about an hour." "Get photos," I said. "Video if possible." "Already on it. This guy is pretty sloppy about covering his tracks. Parked right out front in broad daylight." I drove to my insurance office and spent the afternoon processing claims. Workers' compensation fraud, suspicious house fires, staged car accidents. The same patterns repeated endlessly. People thinking they were clever, not realizing that lies always left evidence. At 6 in the evening, Carlos sent me a photo gallery. Lisa entering Brandon's building. Lisa at Brandon's window, clearly visible and laughing. Lisa leaving 3 hours later with messed up hair and her lipstick gone. I forwarded the photos to Michelle Thompson with a note, "Documentary evidence, more to follow." Lisa came home at 8:30 claiming she had been shopping for wedding decorations. She showed me bags from Target and Bath & Body Works as proof. "How did the errands go?" I asked. "Exhausting, but productive. Jennifer is so particular about everything. I swear bridezillas are real." She kicked off her shoes and collapsed on our couch. "How was your day?" "Quiet. Processed some claims. Nothing exciting." She snuggled against me while we watched Netflix. I stroked her hair and made appropriate responses to her commentary about the show. She felt warm and familiar against my side. For a moment, I almost forgot about the photos on my phone. Almost. Thursday morning brought me an unexpected gift. I was reviewing claim files when my office phone rang. "Mr. Morrison, this is Robert Park from Cornerstone Transport Solutions. I understand you handle insurance investigations." I sat up straighter in my chair. That's correct. What can I help you with? We have a situation with one of our senior analysts. Possible misconduct involving company resources. We need someone discreet to look into it. What kind of misconduct? I asked. The sexual harassment variety. An employee reported inappropriate behavior. Possible quid pro quo situations. We need documentation before we can take action. I smiled. I would be happy to discuss this further. Who is the employee in question? Brandon Cole. Do you know him? Not personally, I lied, but I can certainly investigate objectively. We scheduled a meeting for Friday morning. I hung up and immediately called Carlos. I need you to dig deeper into Brandon Cole's work situation. Specifically, any complaints, human resource issues, or inappropriate relationships with colleagues. On it, Carlos said. Anything particular I should look for? Everything. This guy is about to have a very bad week. That evening, Lisa announced she was having dinner with Jennifer to discuss final wedding preparations. We'll probably be late, she said, applying lipstick in our bedroom mirror. Wedding crisis mode, you know. Of course. Tell Jennifer I said congratulations. Will do. I waited 30 minutes after she left, then drove to Brandon's apartment complex. Carlos had given me the address, and sure enough, Lisa's Honda was parked outside Building C. I positioned myself across the street with a clear view of the entrance and settled in to wait. Patience is a virtue in my line of work. My patience got rewarded. At 11:47 p.m., Lisa and Brandon came out together holding hands. They kissed goodbye like teenagers. She stayed pressed against him for a full minute before finally walking to her car. I photographed everything with my phone. When Lisa got home at midnight, I found me reading in bed. How was dinner? I asked casually. Stressful. Poor Jennifer is having second thoughts about the flowers. We had to call 3 different vendors. She disappeared into our bathroom and came out in pajamas with her face washed clean of all the makeup. I'm exhausted, she said, climbing into bed. Sweet dreams, I said. She curled up beside me with a contented sigh. Love you, I said back. Love you too. Friday's meeting with Cornerstone Transport went even better than I had hoped. Robert Park, the human resources director, was desperate for help. Brandon has been with us for 5 years, Park explained. Good employee, solid performance reviews, but 3 weeks ago we received a complaint from one of our female coordinators. She claims Brandon offered her a promotion in exchange for sexual favors. Did she file a formal complaint? I asked, taking notes. She was afraid to initially, but yesterday another woman came forward with similar allegations. We need to know if there's a pattern of behavior we have missed. I took detailed notes. I will need access to personnel files, security footage, and the ability to interview employees confidentially. Done. When can you start? Immediately. I spent the afternoon at Cornerstone's offices reviewing Brandon's employment history and interviewing colleagues. The picture that emerged was of a man who had grown increasingly bold over the past year. Inappropriate comments, unwanted touches, pressure applied to female subordinates who needed favorable performance reviews. One woman, Emily Rodriguez, was particularly forthcoming. Brandon started getting weird about 6 months ago, she told me during a private interview. More aggressive, more entitled, like he thought he was untouchable or something. Did anything specific trigger the change in behavior? I asked. He started talking about this affair he was having, some married woman who made him feel like a king, he said. Really boosted his ego, I guess. I nodded sympathetically. Did he mention this woman's name? Lisa something. He showed me her picture once. Pretty blonde woman, looked like she had money. He was obsessed with her. Thank you, Emily. This is very helpful. By 5 in the afternoon, I had compiled a comprehensive report documenting Brandon's misconduct. Multiple women, multiple incidents, pattern of behavior going back months. Lisa was already home when I arrived. She was cooking dinner and humming cheerfully. Perfect timing, she said, kissing my cheek. I made your favorite, chicken parmesan with pasta. She only cooked my favorite meal when she felt guilty about something. Pattern recognition is my specialty. Smells amazing. What is the occasion? No occasion. Cannot a wife make dinner for her husband? She poured me wine and sat across from me at our dining room table. So, how was work? Any interesting cases? Just the usual fraud investigations, nothing too exciting. I was thinking maybe we should take that vacation sooner rather than later, Lisa said. Things have been so stressful with the wedding and work and everything. We could use some us time. I twirled pasta around my fork, considering her words. You seem stressed lately. Anything specific bothering you? Lisa's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Just the normal stuff. You know how demanding my job can be. And with Jennifer's wedding next week, she shrugged. It'll all settle down soon. I'm sure it will, I said. After dinner, we watched a movie together. Lisa fell asleep with her head on my shoulder, breathing softly against my neck. She looked peaceful and young, nothing like the woman I had heard on that audio recording. I carefully extracted myself and went to my office. An email from Carlos was waiting with the subject line, Jackpot. Saturday morning arrived gray and humid, typical for Richmond in late summer. Lisa spent an hour getting ready for what she claimed was a dress fitting for Jennifer's wedding. I'll probably be gone most of the day, she told me. You know how these things go. Try on the dress, hate it, try on another dress, start over. Sounds exhausting. Need me to pick up anything while you're out? Just groceries if you get a chance. We're almost out of everything. She kissed me goodbye and left in a cloud of expensive perfume. I waited until her car disappeared around the corner, then called Carlos. She just left. Where are you? Already following her. She's not heading toward any bridal shops, by the way. She's going toward Brandon's place. Stay on her. I need to know everywhere they go today. I drove to the grocery store like I promised, but instead of shopping, I sat in my car and made phone calls. The first was to Ashley Cole, Brandon's wife. Mrs. Cole, my name is Jake Morrison. I'm a private investigator working on a case that involves your husband. Could we meet briefly? I have some information you need to see. Ashley's voice was cautious but curious. What kind of information? The kind that explains why your husband has been working late so often recently. We met at a coffee shop in Mechanicsville. Ashley was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with tired eyes and the slightly frazzled look of someone juggling career and small children. My husband is having an affair, she said without any preamble after we sat down. That's why you called, is it not? I nodded. I'm sorry. How long have you suspected? Months. He's been different, distracted, always on his phone. She stirred her coffee absently. I found hotel receipts in his car last week, confronted him about it. What did he say? That it was work-related, business meetings with clients. Laughed bitterly. I may be tired, but I'm not stupid. Who has business meetings at hotels on Saturday afternoons? I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Carlos's photos, Brandon and Lisa entering a hotel yesterday. Her name is Lisa Morrison, I said quietly. She's my wife. Ashley stared at the photo for a long moment. When she looked up, her eyes were bright with tears. How long? She asked. At least 6 months that I can prove, probably longer. God, she covered her face with her hands. The kids. How do I explain this to the kids? You don't have to do anything right now, I said gently, but I think we can help each other. Brandon is about to face some serious consequences at work. If you're planning to leave him, now would be a good time to protect yourself financially. Ashley wiped her eyes and looked at me with new interest. What kind of consequences? I told her about the sexual harassment complaints and my investigation. I also shared some of the photos Carlos had taken. Nothing explicit, just evidence of the affair. I want copies of everything, Ashley said when I finished, and I want him to pay for what he's done to our family. I can arrange that, I said. We spent another hour planning. By the time we parted ways, Ashley had the name of a good divorce attorney and a promise that I would share any additional evidence I uncovered. Carlos called as I drove home from meeting Ashley. Your wife and her boyfriend just checked into the Jefferson Hotel, presidential suite. They are planning to make a day of it. Perfect, I said. Get photos of them entering and leaving, timestamps on everything. Already on it. Oh, and boss, they stopped at a jewelry store first. Brandon bought something expensive. I felt my first real flash of anger since this whole thing started. A jewelry store. Brandon was buying my wife gifts with money that should have been supporting his actual family. Which store? I asked. Goldstein Jewelers downtown. They were in there for about 20 minutes. I drove to Goldstein Jewelers and had a brief, productive conversation with the sales associate who had helped Brandon. A little name-dropping and some fabricated story about insurance verification was all it took to learn that Brandon had purchased a $3,000 diamond bracelet for Lisa, using a credit card that was probably already maxed out if Ashley's suspicions about their finances were correct. I sat in my car outside the jewelry store and felt something cold and final settle in my chest. This was not just an affair anymore. Brandon was making long-term investments in my wife, planning for a future that involved stealing her away from our marriage. Time to accelerate the timeline. I called Michelle Thompson, my divorce attorney. I need to move faster than we discussed, I told her. File the papers on Monday. I want her served at work, publicly, with maximum embarrassment. Are you sure? Michelle asked. We discussed the advantages of waiting to build a stronger case. The case is strong enough, and I want this done before she has a chance to hide any more assets or make any more plans with her boyfriend. All right, I will have the papers ready. What about spousal support? Trust me on that. Sunday passed quietly. Lisa came home from her supposed dress fitting with shopping bags and a new diamond bracelet that she claimed was a gift from Jennifer for being such a wonderful maid of honor. It is beautiful, I said, examining the bracelet. Expensive looking. Jennifer's family has money, Lisa replied easily. She wanted to get something special for all her bridesmaids. That is very generous, I said. We spent the evening watching Netflix and discussing mundane domestic issues, what to do about the leak in our guest bathroom, whether we should refinance our mortgage, plans for Thanksgiving with Lisa's parents. Normal married couple conversations, except that I knew exactly how much that bracelet cost and who had really bought it. I also knew that by this time next week, we would both be living somewhere else. Monday morning, Lisa left for work in high spirits. Big week ahead, she said, adjusting her lipstick in the hallway mirror. Jennifer's wedding is Saturday, and I have that presentation to the board on Thursday. After this week, life should calm down considerably. I'm sure it will, I agreed. At 10 a.m., a process server walked into Cornerstone Transport Solutions and asked for Lisa Morrison at the front desk. I knew this because I had asked Carlos to be there with a camera. The photos arrived 20 minutes later. Lisa's face frozen in shock as she read the divorce papers, her colleagues staring, the whispered conversations that followed as she hurried back to her office. Carlos's report came an hour later. She called Brandon immediately. They're meeting for lunch to discuss the situation. Want me to record the conversation? Absolutely, I said. At noon, Carlos positioned himself at a table near Brandon and Lisa at a small Italian restaurant downtown. The recording device captured everything. This is a disaster, Lisa was saying. He knows everything. The divorce papers mention infidelity specifically. How much does he actually know? Brandon asked. I don't know, but he's been so calm about everything. Too calm. That's not like him. Maybe he's just processing it, shocked. You know, some guys shut down when they get emotional. You don't understand. Jake doesn't get emotional. He gets strategic. If he filed for divorce, it means he has a plan. So what do we do? I don't know. My lawyer says I should try to reconcile, or at least delay the proceedings to buy time to figure out what he has on us. Forget that. Maybe this is good news. Now we don't have to sneak around anymore. We can be together for real. There was a long pause. Then Lisa's voice, quieter. Brandon, I need to ask you something. Are you serious about us? About a future together? Of course I am. Why would you even ask that? Because you're still married too, and if we're both getting divorced, we need to know what we're dealing with financially, how much debt you have, what kind of assets. Don't worry about money. I've been putting things in place. Ashley doesn't know about half my accounts. Another pause.
What accounts? Offshore stuff, cryptocurrency, cash positions she can't touch. I've been planning this for months, babe. When the time comes, we'll have options. I listened to the recording 3 times, taking notes. Brandon was hiding assets from his wife, possibly illegal, definitely useful for Ashley's divorce case. More importantly, he was lying to Lisa about his financial situation. According to Ashley, Brandon was drowning in debt and had been borrowing against their house to fund his affair. Time for Phase 3.
I called Robert Park at Cornerstone Transport that afternoon. "I have my preliminary report ready on the Brandon Cole investigation," I said. "Could we meet this afternoon? There are some urgent findings you need to see." "How urgent?" Park asked. "Fire him immediately, urgent." We met at 3 in the afternoon. I presented a comprehensive file documenting Brandon's sexual harassment of multiple female employees, his use of company resources for personal activities, and his inappropriate relationship with a colleague in the human resources department of another company, namely Lisa. "Jesus Christ," Park said, flipping through photos of Brandon and Lisa together. "She works in human resources? Director level at Morrison Logistics? This is a liability nightmare. If word gets out that one of our senior analysts has been sexually harassing employees and conducting an affair with a human resources executive from another company," he shook his head, "we could lose major contracts. I would recommend immediate termination and a comprehensive review of his access to company systems and information," I said. "Done. Can you document everything for our legal team?" "Already prepared." I handed over a thick folder. "This should cover any wrongful termination claims he might try to make." Brandon was fired at 4:30 in the afternoon. Security escorted him from the building after confiscating his laptop, phone, and access cards. I know this because I asked Carlos to watch from the parking lot. The photos of Brandon carrying a cardboard box to his car, looking stunned and angry, were deeply satisfying. At 5:15, Lisa called me. "Honey, I need to tell you something," she said. Her voice was shaky. "Brandon got fired today from his job." "That is terrible. What happened?" "I do not know all the details. Some kind of human resources investigation. They're saying he harassed female employees." "Wow, that is serious." "It is. And with everything that is happening with us..." She paused. "Jake, can we talk tonight? Really talk? I think we need to discuss our marriage honestly." "Of course. I'll pick up dinner on the way home." "Thank you. I love you." "I love you too," I said. I hung up and smiled. Lisa was finally ready to be honest. Unfortunately for her, it was far too late for honesty to matter. That evening, Lisa paced our living room while I sat at the kitchen table quietly eating Chinese takeout. She had changed into jeans and an old sweater, her comfort clothes. She kept running her fingers through her hair in nervous loops. "I need to tell you something," she said the 3rd time in 10 minutes. I did not look up from my food. "I'm listening." "It's about Brandon. About us." She stopped pacing and met my eyes. "We've been having an affair for months. I'm sorry, Jake. I'm so sorry." I calmly set my chopsticks down and turned my full attention toward her. "How long?" 6 months. Maybe 7, she admitted. Tears began spilling down her cheeks. "It just happened. We were working on a project together, and he was so different from..." She caught herself. "From what I'm used to. Exciting. He made me feel young again." "I see," I said quietly. Lisa blinked in disbelief. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" I rose from the table and walked into the living room. Lisa followed behind me with her arms wrapped tightly around her torso like she was trying to keep herself from falling apart. "What do you want me to say?" I asked, without turning around. "I don't know," she said. "Scream at me. Get angry. Something." She wiped her nose on the sleeve of her sweater and sank onto the couch. "You're being so calm about this." I faced her. My voice stayed level. "Would screaming change anything?" "No," she admitted with a shaky breath. "But..." She let the sentence hang in the air. "Jake, I want to make this work. The affair is over. Brandon's life is falling apart, and I don't want mine to fall apart too. We can go to counseling. We can figure this out." I took a seat in my reading chair across from her. My face stayed unreadable. "Is the affair really over?" "Yes," Lisa said quickly. "Completely." "When was the last time you saw Brandon?" I asked. My tone was calm but firm. She hesitated just long enough to confirm what I already suspected. "Last week. We were ending things." "Which day last week?" I pressed. Lisa shifted uncomfortably. Why does it matter?" "Because I'm trying to understand the timeline. When exactly did you decide to end things with Brandon?" There was a pause before she said, "When I realized what it was doing to our marriage. When I understood that I was about to lose something real for something temporary." "I see," I said thoughtfully. "That's interesting, because according to my private investigator, you were at the Jefferson Hotel with Brandon yesterday afternoon. Presidential suite. You also had lunch with him today after he got fired, where you discussed strategy for dealing with our divorce." The color drained from Lisa's face. "You've been having me followed?" "I've been documenting evidence for divorce proceedings, yes." "Jake," she started to stand up, then sat back down. "How much do you know?" "Everything," I said. "The bachelorette party video, the sexually transmitted disease you gave me, the WhatsApp messages where you and Jennifer mock your husbands, your workplace affair, Brandon buying you jewelry with money he stole from his family. Should I continue?" Lisa stared at me in horror. "What video?" I pulled out my laptop and played the footage from the hotel room. Lisa watched herself kissing Brandon, laughing, falling into bed with him. When it ended, she looked like she might vomit. "Who took this?" she whispered. "Someone who thought I deserved to know the truth." "Jake, please, let me explain." "There is nothing to explain," I said. "You made choices. Now you live with the consequences." Lisa started crying harder. "What consequences? What are you going to do?" "I am going to let you destroy yourself. I'm just providing the tools." "What does that mean?" I closed the laptop and looked at my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, with something approaching pity. "It means that Brandon has been lying to you about his financial situation. He is not hiding money from Ashley. He is hiding debt. About $200,000 of it, according to my research. Credit cards, personal loans, a second mortgage he took out without Ashley's knowledge. The affair with you has been expensive." Lisa's crying began to slow, though her shoulders still trembled. "That is not... He said he had offshore accounts." "He lied," I said evenly. "Brandon is broke, worse than broke, and now he's unemployed, facing multiple sexual harassment lawsuits, and going through a divorce where his wife knows about the hidden debt." Her head snapped up. "How do you know all this?" "Because I've been talking to Ashley," I said. "She is filing for divorce tomorrow. She is also reporting the hidden debt to the authorities as potential fraud." Lisa stared at me in disbelief. "You talked to his wife?" "We have become quite close," I replied. "Betrayed spouses have a lot in common." Her expression shifted from shock to anger. "Jake, this is crazy. You cannot just destroy people's lives because you're angry." "I am not destroying anything," I said as I stood. "I'm simply revealing what was already there. You and Brandon destroyed your own lives. I'm just making sure everyone else knows about it." There was a long pause. Then Lisa looked up at me with pleading eyes. "What about us? Our marriage?" "Our marriage ended the first time you slept with Brandon," I said flatly. "Everything since then has just been paperwork." She sat in stunned silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was small and desperate. "What do you want from me? What can I do to fix this?" "Nothing," I said, grabbing my coat. "There is nothing to fix." "There has to be something," she insisted. "Money? I'll give you everything in the divorce. The house, my 401k, everything." I looked at her for a long moment, then said, I already have everything. Moved it to accounts you cannot access. Her eyes widened in alarm. You cannot do that. That's illegal. Actually, it's not, I replied coolly. I moved my assets to protect them from fraudulent claims, all perfectly legal. But the house is in my name only, I cut in. You signed a quitclaim deed 2 years ago when we refinanced, remember? You said it would be easier for tax purposes. Lisa's face went white. You planned this. All of it. No, I said as I picked up my keys from the coffee table. I planned for this. There is a difference. I walked to the door without looking back. I'm going to a hotel tonight. You can stay here until the divorce is final. After that, you'll need to find somewhere else to live. Her voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? I did not pause. That is not my problem anymore. Tuesday morning brought unexpected entertainment. I was halfway through my omelet at the hotel restaurant when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. This is Jennifer Martinez. We need to talk about the wedding. I stared at the screen for a moment before replying, I'm not sure we have anything to discuss. Her answer came quickly. I know you have something on me from the bachelorette party. I will pay you to keep quiet. Interesting. Jennifer was panicking. I typed back a short response. Meet me at Miller's Deli on Boulevard at noon. Jennifer was already waiting when I arrived. She looked nervous, constantly glancing at her phone and scanning the restaurant like she expected paparazzi to burst through the door. Thank you for meeting me, she said as I slid into the booth across from her. I folded my hands on the table. What can I do for you? I know you have video from the bachelorette party. I know it shows me with Marcus. I will give you $10,000 to delete it. I raised an eyebrow. Why would I want to delete it? Because you're angry at Lisa, not me. This does not have to affect my wedding. I studied her. She was beautiful in a polished, artificial way. Impeccable makeup, designer clothes that screamed wealth, jewelry that probably cost more than my car. Everything about her was curated for status. To make a long story short, I gave Jennifer a choice. Tell Daniel the truth herself before the wedding, or I would show him the evidence 1 hour before the ceremony. She begged, she cried, she offered more money. But in the end, she made the right choice. She told Daniel about Marcus, about all of it. The wedding was called off. Daniel broke up with her. His family was furious. The vendors kept their deposits. Jennifer lost everything she had been planning for. Meanwhile, Brandon's life continued to spiral. Ashley filed for divorce and discovered the full extent of his debts, over $300,000. The sexual harassment lawsuits from his former employer piled up. His car got repossessed. He ended up living in a cheap motel, broke and alone. One night, drunk and desperate, Brandon showed up at Lisa's office and attacked her. He punched her in the face, gave her a black eye. Security stopped him before it got worse, but he was arrested on the spot. Multiple felony charges: assault, breaking and entering at Ashley's house, credit card fraud, terroristic threats against his former boss. Brandon went to prison for 7 years. 6 months later, I stood in the parking lot of Richmond International Airport, saying goodbye to a life I never wanted to leave but could not bear to stay in. The divorce had been finalized 3 months earlier. Lisa had gotten a lawyer who specialized in damage control, but there was not much to control. The evidence against her was overwhelming, and Virginia's infidelity laws were unforgiving. She ended up with almost nothing. Some clothes, her car, and enough money to start over somewhere else. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents and was working at a different company for less money. Brandon was serving his 7-year sentence in federal prison. Ashley got her divorce, sold their house to pay his debts, and moved with the kids to North Carolina to be closer to her family. She sent me a Christmas card, thanking me for helping her escape what she now realized had been an abusive marriage. Jennifer had left Richmond entirely after her wedding scandal. Last I heard, she was working as a real estate agent in Charlotte and dating a man who did not know about her history with Marcus. Daniel Vaughn sent me a bottle of expensive scotch with a note, "You saved my life. If you ever need anything, call me." He was apparently dating a nurse from Virginia Commonwealth University Medical Center who shared his interests in hiking and volunteer work. Real interests, not fake ones Jennifer had performed for his benefit. Flight 447 to Denver is now boarding all passengers. I picked up my carry-on bag and walked toward the gate. I had taken a job with a Denver-based insurance company that specialized in complex fraud investigations. Better pay, better title, better life. A chance to start over in a place where nobody knew my story. My phone buzzed with a text message. The sender was listed as unknown, but I recognized the number. "Heard you're leaving town. Good for you. I hope you find happiness wherever you are going. I am sorry for everything. Lisa." I read the message twice, then deleted it without responding. Some conversations did not need to continue. As the plane lifted off from Richmond, I looked down at the city that had been my home for 15 years. From 30,000 feet, it looked peaceful and orderly, like a place where bad things did not happen to good people. But I knew better now. Bad things happen everywhere to everyone. The trick is deciding how to respond when they happen to you. Some people become victims, some people become villains, and some people, if they're smart and patient and willing to think strategically instead of emotionally, become survivors. The plane banked west toward Colorado, toward mountains and snow and a future that belonged entirely to me. For the first time in months, I smiled. Looking back now, people ask me what I learned from all of this. Here's what I'll tell you. Trust your gut. When something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore the signs just because you want to believe everything is fine. Document everything. Evidence matters. The truth matters. And when someone betrays you, don't get mad, get methodical. Most importantly, know your worth. I wasted 8 years with someone who did not value me, who saw me as boring and predictable and easy to deceive. But being stable and trustworthy and loyal is not boring. Those are good qualities. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for being a good person. If you're going through something similar, here's my advice. Protect yourself first. Move your money. Get a good lawyer. Build your case before you confront anyone. And remember that revenge is not about hurting the other person. It's about making sure they can't hurt you anymore. Justice doesn't always come fast. But if you're patient and smart about it, justice does come. 3 hours into the flight, my banking app notified me that my investment account had hit a new milestone. Enough money to buy a house in Denver's foothills with a view of the Rockies and room for the dog I had always wanted, but Lisa had refused to get. Money that had once been ours was now entirely mine. Money that Lisa had helped earn through her human resources salary, but had forfeited through her betrayal. As the flight attendant offered me a drink, I pulled out my laptop and began researching dog breeds suitable for mountain living. German Shepherds looked promising. Loyal, intelligent, protective. Everything my ex-wife had not been. The plane flew through scattered clouds toward a setting sun, carrying me away from Richmond and toward a life where I would never again have to wonder who was lying.